My boyfriend messed around with his sister-in-law and had a child with her. When I almost drowned in the pool, he only cared about protecting his sister-in-law. He ignored me during her pregnancy and even wrongly accused me. Completely disheartened, I married Daniel, who had been pursuing me. At the wedding, he knelt and begged me to reconcile, but I refused. After I exposed the truth, he was deserted by everyone, went bankrupt, and wandered the streets like a madman. Sometimes he scared children and got beaten by their parents, eventually ending up kidnapped and taken to Africa. However, the story was just beginning. My boyfriend's sister-in-law was pregnant. The child was my boyfriend's. At the family dinner, Sarah suddenly announced some happy news: I'm pregnant. The child is Robert's. The whole family was stunned. Robert's parents even chided Sarah, saying she must be overcome with grief from losing her husband and suffering from hysteria. I looked at Robert Miller in disbelief, hoping for an explanation. Robert Miller's face was grim. Sarah is right. The child is indeed mine. My brother died saving me. I owe David a life, and giving him a child is only right. I don't want there to be no one to visit his grave, or remember him. Robert's parents were all silent. Robert Miller turned to me. Sarah and I are innocent. This child is from IVF. Our wedding will be postponed for 10 months. We'll have it after Sarah gives birth. My tears suddenly streamed down. My boyfriend had a child with another woman, and I hadn't known anything about it. I pulled at the corner of my bitter mouth. Okay? My heart felt like a giant rock was stuck, blocking from my chest to my throat. Robert Miller, I don't have to love you. At the end of the hallway, I numbly dialed my dad's number. Dad, about what you said last time, I agree. Hanging up the phone, I turned around to see Sarah standing behind me. One hand rubbing her still flat stomach, the other on her hip. She raised an eyebrow and ordered me, Emily Davis, go get me a cup of hot milk. She looked completely imperious. I scoffed, who do you think you are? She'd never liked me before, and often badmouthed me to Robert Miller. For Robert Miller's sake, I hadn't bothered with her. Since I'd agreed to Dad, I didn't need to tolerate her anymore. Sir's face was smug. I'm carrying the Miller's precious baby. How dare you talk to me like that? What are the Millers? Do they have a throne to inherit? The next second, she grabbed my hand and threw herself onto the ground. Bang! Suddenly, I was shoved hard to the ground by a great force. The old injury on my ankle throbbed with pain. That was half a year ago, when Robert Miller and I went hiking. He was bitten by a venomous snake, and became unconscious from the poison. With my petite 1/6 frame, I carried the 1/8 Robert Miller down the mountain, my ankle twisting as I stumbled along. The doctor said, this young girl has real determination, carrying her boyfriend down from the mountain like that. At that time, Robert Miller was so touched he cried. His eyes red. He held up 3 fingers and swore a solemn oath. I will love you with my life from now on. If I break this oath, may I die a terrible death. But now, the moment something involved Sarah, he lost control. He rushed over and automatically assumed I was at fault, shoving me down. He meticulously asked if Sarah was hurt, completely ignoring me. Sarah nestled tearfully in his arms. She began to complain, the baby wanted milk. I just asked to warm a cup for me, and she... Robert Miller turned and glared at me fiercely. Do you have any idea how much Sarah has suffered? How many shots she's had? How difficult it's been for her to carry on his name for my brother? How could you be so vicious? If something happens to this child, we won't need to get married either. I forced back the pain in my foot. Why bother with shots? Why didn't you just do it yourself? You both got off, and you got a kid. Robert Miller's face turned livid with rage. Emily Davis, when did you become such a shrew? This is my sister-in-law, and I won't allow you to insult her. Apologize to Sarah. Sarah lay in Robert Miller's arms, shedding tears of grievance. I pulled out a bitter smile. Let's break up. Robert's mom immediately came out to mediate. Robert is just straightforward. He doesn't mean any harm. You two have been together for 5 years. How can you just break up? Don't be angry. After Sarah gives birth, Mom will personally arrange your wedding. Your ankle is sprained. Don't leave tonight. Robert, go get the medicine and put a plaster on M's foot. Robert's mom reached out to pull Sarah, but she clung to him, even tighter. Her voice was sweet and weak. Robert, don't blame Emily Davis. I got dizzy and lost my balance. Can you help me into the bedroom to rest? Robert Miller soothingly patted her back. He said coldly to me, Emily Davis, when will you be as sensible as Sarah? With that, he princess carried Sarah into the bedroom. I couldn't hold back anymore, and roared at him, Robert Miller, are you dead? My old ankle injury is acting up, can't you see? He only paused for a second, then walked away with steady steps, holding Sarah. My throat tightened, and tears fell like a broken string of pearls. Robert's mom comforted me and helped me into a guest room, where she put medicine on my ankle. Robert Miller didn't show his face the entire night. Of course. Every time we argued, I was the one who apologized first, who went to appease him. Not this time. In the middle of the night, I got up to use the bathroom. The light in Robert Miller's bedroom was still on. I had no intention of paying attention, but as I passed his room, I heard sounds coming from inside. Sarah, I promised to give you a child, and I've done it. Let's go back to how things were. Uncle-sister-in-law relation. Em has a spoiled attitude. I apologize to you for her. I hope you won't hold it against her in the future. Sarah was dressed provocatively, her lacy, sexy nightgown half revealing. Her voice was soft. Robert, don't worry, I won't ruin your relationship. I just miss your brother so much. Your brother wanted a child so much before he died. You're just fulfilling his dream. Em loves you so much, she won't blame you. Robert, can you just hold me? Let this child feel a little bit of fatherly love. He is your child too. Robert Miller and I had been together for 5 years. We'd been intimate as a couple, but we had never gone all the way. Once, things got heated and almost went too far, but Robert Miller managed to stop himself. He said he wanted us to save our first time for our wedding night. I knew his willpower, and I knew he would stick to his principles, but I still couldn't accept that my fiancé had a child with another woman. I fell in love at first sight with him, during my freshman year of college. He was handsome and refined, the campus heartthrob of the law department. I knew he came from a poor family background. To keep him from feeling inferior, I, the daughter of the richest man in Hillcrest, hid my identity, pretended to be from a humble background, and actively pursued him for half a year before he finally agreed. The day my identity was revealed, he sulked at me for half a month, only made up with me, after telling me to change my spoiled attitude. He was my whole world, I agreed to everything he said. He told me not to give him expensive gifts, so I told him they were fakes. I gave him a full set of Hermes, and he took me to a street stall to buy a dress. I gave him a Rolex green Submariner, and he personally wove a bracelet for me. In short, he wouldn't take advantage of me. The only exception was after graduation, I pestered my dad to pull strings to get him into Hillcrest Legal Associates to intern under Mr. Thompson, and he readily accepted. Robert Miller also lived up to expectations. A year later, he partnered with a colleague to open a law firm. At this moment, Sarah threw herself into Robert Miller's arms, her 2 pale mounds pressed tightly against his chest. Sarah's breasts were already larger than average, and they were even bigger now that she was pregnant, practically spilling out. Robert Miller's hand, which had been reaching to push her away, slowly lowered. I saw his restraint, but an intimate activity was about to begin. I didn't want to watch the live show, so I fled to the bathroom. With Sarah seducing him like this, every day, they must be intimate constantly. Robert Miller is a man too. What man doesn't have those desires? It's hard to control those desires. Whatever. Since I'm leaving, whatever happens between him and Sarah is none of my business anymore, but my heart still ached as if being pricked by needles. 5 years of feelings, wasted. In the bathroom, the more I thought, the more wronged I felt. Tears streamed down uncontrollably. I wiped away my tears and splashed cold water on my face. Just then, Sarah also came to the bathroom. She deliberately tugged the collar of her nightgown outward, revealing a red hickey. You saw it all just now, didn't you? And I have a secret to tell you. This child isn't from IVF. She leaned close to my ear. It's Robert's and mine, naturally conceived. His hands were trembling. He was so nervous the first time. Tilda, you, a rich man's daughter. Don't you feel disgusted using my leftovers? Ha ha ha. If it were the old me with my quick temper, I would have slapped her several times by now. Dating Robert Miller these past few years had really smoothed out my temper. Instead of getting angry, I laughed. You're messing around together. David would turn over in his grave and strangle you 2 bitches if he knew. That bastard in your belly is unlucky enough to have a mother like you. Will he call Robert Miller Dad? Or Uncle? He'll be laughed at by his classmates when he grows up. He couldn't bear to live and would be ashamed of a mother like you. You. Sarah stamped her feet in anger, unable to speak. What, you? You and Robert Miller are a perfect match, like a sewer and a rat. I didn't expect that. Unable to win the argument against me, she would grab the makeup water from the sink and throw it at my head. The bottle grazed my scalp as it flew past, falling to the ground with a sound. Robert Miller heard the commotion, assumed I had started it, and rushed over, grabbing my throat tightly and shoving me hard against the wall. My back felt icy cold. His eyes blazed with fire, as if he wanted to kill me. I'm the one who postponed the wedding. Why are you still bothering Sarah? Can't you stop making a scene? Sarah is pregnant, can't you cut her some slack? Emily Davis, how many times do I have to say it? Sarah and I are innocent. Robert, I have glass stuck in my leg, it's bleeding. Robert Miller immediately released my neck. The glass in Sir's leg was from the shattered makeup water bottle. Robert Miller anxiously picked her up. Sarah, I'll take you to the hospital. A large piece of glass was also stuck in my arm, and blood was oozing out. He didn't see it at all. Enduring the pain, I took out my phone, called a taxi, and limped into it. I went to the hospital by myself to get my wound bandaged. At the entrance to the emergency room, Robert Miller looked at me with annoyance. Are you following us? Emily Davis, can you stop being so petty? She's my sister-in-law. David died saving me, and it's my responsibility to take care of Sarah and the child in her belly. If you keep making a scene like this, forget about marrying me. I said coldly, I'm not that idle to follow you. And I'm not that idle to bother Sarah. Only then did Robert Miller see that my arm was also injured. He explained to me with apology, Sarah is pregnant. It's David's posthumous child. Our whole family hopes she can deliver this child safely. I was too impulsive just now. I'll go with you to register. Hey. David's probably rolling in his grave, realizing his own brother gave him horns. And it was his own brother who did it. How ironic. David got one, and now I'm wearing one too. The next second, Sir's voice came from inside the examination room. Robert, the doctor is going to remove the glass. I'm scared. Robert Miller turned and told me, go see the doctor yourself. Sarah is timid, I need to go in and stay with her. Such a jerk. Why would I keep him around? Saturday was a classmate's birthday party. I was invited and decided to go to clear my head. Who knew? I actually saw Robert Miller bringing Sarah there too. Robert Miller, Sarah, and I were college classmates. Back then, Sarah also actively pursued Robert Miller, just like I did. Under my relentless pursuit, I finally won Robert Miller's heart. Sarah married Robert Miller's elder brother, David. Amidst the toasts and clinking glasses, Robert Miller's long, slender hands peeled a large bowl of shrimp and placed it in front of Sarah. He also meticulously instructed her, don't be picky, eat more shrimp, it's good for the baby's development. A classmate teased, Robert is so good to Sarah. You peeled all the shrimp on the table for her. Aren't you afraid Em will get angry? He smiled and said, Em doesn't like shrimp. The classmate saw I was unhappy and tactfully changed the subject. After Yang Yang's birthday party, the next one we'll celebrate is Emily Davis and Robert's wedding. Back in school, I was so envious of Robert for finding such a beautiful girlfriend. Robert, you have to cherish Emily Davis. They are meant for each other, handsome guy and beautiful girl. The perfect couple. I really couldn't listen anymore. Stop, stop, stop. You're all welcome to my wedding. I'd be delighted. But it won't be with Robert Miller. We've already broken up. The groom is someone else. Saying things like that will make my future husband angry. Emily Davis. Robert Miller gritted his teeth as he called my name. He explained to the classmates, sorry everyone, we had a little disagreement. Emily Davis is just saying things out of anger. The wedding will still happen, it's just postponed for a few months. David just passed away last month. My parents are too sad, and Sarah is pregnant. We simply don't have the energy to plan our wedding. The classmates all expressed understanding, and advised me to be more generous. The wedding is just delayed by a few months. You and Robert have been together for so many years, a few more months won't hurt. Their family is going through something, you need to be understanding of each other. It was as if I was the unreasonable one. Using the excuse of going to the bathroom, I left the private room, suite to get some air. The area near the pool at the back of the venue had an infinity pool. The view was quite nice. I was completely absorbed in the view. Sir's voice sounded, if I were you, I would have told them the truth just now. I looked up at her, just about to speak. The woman in front of me grabbed me, and pulled me into the water. I'd had a fear of water, since I was little. Robert Miller knew this too. He suggested going to the beach many times, but I always refused. He said the best way to overcome fear is to face it. But I was just scared. I was also too angry today, which is why I stood by the pool edge. Robert Miller jumped into the pool without a moment's hesitation. He brushed past me. He saved Sarah. Love and lack of love were clear at a glance. My heart completely turned cold at that moment. I slowly sank into the water. Just as I was filled with despair, a large hand grabbed me. He lifted me out of the water and thoughtfully performed CPR. Just as the artificial respiration was about to reach my mouth again, Robert Miller punched the man in the face. The classmates heard the commotion outside and all came out. Seeing that Robert Miller was the one getting beaten, they all came to break it up. That's my wife. What the hell do you think you're doing kissing her? The man was completely soaked, his clothes clinging to him, revealing broad shoulders, a narrow waist, smooth lines, and muscles faintly showing through. Through his soaking wet pants, a hint of wildness and unrestraint seemed to stir. A stunning figure, and yet, he looked somewhat familiar. His voice was slightly hoarse, yet magnetic, with a hint of nonchalance. Your wife. What kind of decent man doesn't save his own wife, but saves another woman? The classmates all nodded, thinking he had a point. I quickly clarified, I told you we've already broken up. Robert Miller lowered his voice, and snapped at me angrily, Emily Davis, what are you doing now? Are you deaf? I broke up with you. I didn't even want to look at him. I must have been blinded back then to fall for this complete jerk. Robert Miller furrowed his brow, Emily Davis, stop making trouble. You were kissed by this guy today. I can pretend it didn't happen, as long as you don't bother Sarah again. I smiled, wishing you two a long and happy life together. After saying that, I took the stranger's hand and walked out. I completely missed the slight upward curve of the man's lips beside me. The onlookers nearby whispered amongst themselves. Anyone with a bit of sense could see there was something going on between Robert Miller and Sarah. But I was so blinded by love back then. There were so many red flags, yet I never suspected a thing. If I hadn't seen them hugging and holding each other with my own eyes, I would have thought they were innocent. Robert Miller wanted to chase after me, but after only 2 steps, Sarah called out to him. Robert, my stomach hurt so much Tilda. He could only take Sarah to the hospital first. I booked a hotel room nearby, thinking the man beside me should change out of his soaked clothes, especially since he had just saved me. The man suddenly spoke, my name is Daniel. Daniel. The name sounded familiar, and his face looked a bit familiar too. The man met my gaze, his eyes holding such deep affection they could make even a dog feel loved. Oh my God, who could resist that? I tried hard to remember. I didn't recall anyone named Daniel, but there was a strange sense of familiarity. I mumbled softly, you didn't just fall in love at first sight with me, did you? Daniel reached out and flicked my forehead, little M, you're really heartless. You've completely forgotten about me. Damn it, that little fatty from childhood loved flicking my forehead the most. Daniel touched his nose, I'm little fatty. Ah, you little fatty. I blurted out, then I felt I'd said the wrong thing and quickly corrected myself. No, little fatty wasn't this handsome. Daniel lifted the corner of his mouth proudly, boys change a lot as they grow up, getting more handsome. Actually, he was 2 months younger than me. When we were kids, I told him to call me, older sister, but he refused and insisted I call him, older brother. We used to argue until we were red in the face about it. After taking a shower, Daniel's assistant delivered 2 sets of clothes. Strange, how did this guy have my size? Even the underwear fit perfectly. After not seeing each other for over 10 years, I acted as host and proactively invited him for dinner. Daniel ordered all the dishes I liked. This guy, he really precisely knew my preferences. Unlike Robert Miller, that complete jerk. We were together for 5 years, and every time we ate together, he only ordered spicy dishes. Not once did he proactively order for me. During dinner, Daniel peeled a whole bowl of shrimp. I thought he liked shrimp too. But he handed the entire bowl to me. Chloe, remember? You said you loved shrimp, and I took you to the pond to catch some, and you accidentally slipped in. I ate the grilled shrimp one after another, it felt so good to have someone peel them for me. How could I forget? Because of that, I'm still afraid of water. I said, eating. Robert Davis looked at me intently. But I learned to swim after that. I wanted to protect the person I love. I took a sip of the delicious chicken soup. Which lucky girl has caught Robert Davis' eye? Robert Davis answered irrelevantly, I've liked her for many, many years, but she fell in love with a jerk. Ah, that girl must have been blind. Just like me, she misjudged. We were chatting happily when Jason Miller, that jerk, called and ruined our mood. I immediately blocked and deleted him. But that jerk sent a string of text messages. Coco, where are you? Why aren't you answering my calls? What are you throwing a tantrum about now? Sarah is pregnant. Of course I had to save the pregnant woman first. Can't you be more understanding? Okay, I apologize. I bought you your favorite roses. Where are you? This was the first time in 5 years Jason Miller had tried to appease me, and he even bought me the roses I liked. So he did know I liked roses. But every time we went on a date, he would just pluck some daisies by the side of the road and give them to me. He'd say daisies and roses were the same anyway, they'd both wither in a couple of days, and that men like him who were practical and ambitious were almost extinct, so I should cherish him. Now he knows to buy roses, but I don't need them anymore. Blocked and deleted his text messages too. Outside the hotel, a Maybach was parked, ostentatious and luxurious. Robert Davis gentlemanly opened the passenger door and invited me in. This guy was smart. His family had been in business for generations. But he stubbornly refused to rely on them, starting his own company. His company's AI intelligent development had touched upon every aspect of ordinary households. This must be a family trait, the elders in his family were all outstanding. With such good genes, any children he had in the future would definitely be smart. Suddenly, I felt a little envious of the girl he liked. She could have a mini Robert Davis. Smart and cute, looking like a tiny CEO even at a young age. There was a photo of us from when we were kids on the Maybach's dashboard. This guy was quite sentimental. Unlike Jason Miller, that jerk, who bought a cheap car. When I wanted to put a photo in his car, he flat out refused. Clients often ride in my car. Having personal photos might expose my privacy. I really don't know what I saw in him back then. What was so good about him? I even fell out with my dad because of him. My mother passed away when I was 10. George raised me alone, afraid I'd be mistreated by a stepmother, so he never remarried. He spoiled me like a little princess. Even though his company was busy, whenever I had a holiday, he would come home to be with me. Looking back now, I was truly heartless. I only told George about the wedding date after setting it with Jason Miller. It made George so angry his blood pressure spiked. He fainted twice, but finally grudgingly agreed to my marriage to Jason Miller. Suddenly, I missed George. I hadn't been back to the old house in a long time. When I arrived home with Robert Davis, I heard George singing opera from the doorway. He seemed to be in a good mood. It must be because I agreed to that thing he wanted. Mrs. Gable, the housekeeper, opened the door for us and happily shouted into the house, "Chloe and Rob are home together." How did she know Robert Davis? Robert Davis smiled and nodded at her, looking quite familiar. My dad rushed out to greet us. His smile stretched from ear to ear. "Rob's here. Come play a few rounds with me." I was puzzled. "When did you two get so close?" "Rob is the man I arranged for you to marry. You already promised Dad, you can't go back on your word now." "You ungrateful little thing, what was so great about Davis? He completely infatuated you. You have to trust Dad's judgment. Robert Davis is the one who will make you happy." Praised by my dad, Robert Davis bit back a smile. "Doesn't he have someone he likes?" "Dad, why are you trying to play matchmaker?" I chided George. "The person I like is you, Coco." Robert Davis' sudden confession stunned me. "You like me? Since when? Why didn't I know? Why didn't you ever tell me?" I fired off a string of questions. My dad sent Mrs. Gable away with a look. Only Rob and I were left. The evening breeze was gentle, the moonlight cool. Robert Davis told me about his 12 years of silent affection. He moved away with his parents when he was a child. The year he started college, he prepared for a long time to confess to me, but found out I liked someone else. As he spoke, he unbuttoned his shirt with one hand. Oh wow, was he going to show me his chest or abs? I couldn't help but imagine that physique surely rivaled a male model's. Robert Davis unbuttoned 3 buttons, revealing his strong left chest muscle, and it was indeed as good looking as I imagined. Over his heart, the name, Chloe Jensen, was tattooed, twining like a vine. "I tattooed your name closest to my heartbeat, Coco. No matter how far the future takes us, my heart that loves you will never change until it stops beating." I had thought I wouldn't fall for any man after Jason Miller. But faced with Robert Davis' confession, my heart was pounding in my chest. The next morning, Jason Miller stood outside my house, holding a large bouquet of roses. "Coco, I knocked on your apartment door all night yesterday. Finally, the security guard told me you hadn't come back." I frowned. How annoying. A lawyer, and he didn't know knocking like that was disturbing the peace. I replied casually, "I was at my dad's place yesterday." "What are you doing here? Yesterday some classmate saw you check into a hotel room with that stranger." Jason Miller thrust the roses towards me. "I believe you. You're not that kind of girl." I replied coldly, "Oh, yes, I did check into a hotel room. Your classmate was right. What does that have to do with you? We've already broken up." His face turned ashen. "Coco, can you stop making a scene? I've already made concessions. Our wedding will go ahead as planned. What else do you want? Tomorrow I'll have my parents come to your place to discuss the wedding banquet with your dad." My mother said back home, the family contribution usually includes a house, a car, and personal savings of about $1 million. The house should be spacious, you know we have a large family, and my parents will need to help with the baby when Sarah has one, so ideally a spacious condo, not too high up, with an elevator. "Shut up." I impatiently cut off his rambling mouth. "Get lost. Get as far away as possible. I've already broken up with you, now get out, you jerk." I grabbed the broom by the gate and swatted him with it. Jason Miller wouldn't give up. "Coco, I know you're still angry. Just unblock me. I'll do whatever you want, okay?" Jason Miller finally left after saying that, chased away by me. He thought I'd cool down in a few days. Since he'd lowered himself so much, I'd eventually come around and go back to him. But didn't he know that the Jensen and Davis families were busy preparing for my wedding to Robert Davis. Robert Davis hired a French designer to custom make my wedding dress. The photographer was flown in specifically from Italy. Even the tiara I wore was bought by Robert Davis at an auction for $1,500 just for me. A vow of love, crowned with eternity. It was called Crown for Love. The Jensen family giving away a daughter, the Davis family taking a wife. Two major families uniting in a powerful alliance. Suddenly, the entire city of Riverton was buzzing about my century wedding with Robert Davis. Many news outlets were posting daily on social media about how Robert Davis and I were childhood sweethearts, from well-matched families, a perfect couple. Jason Miller finally panicked. He thought Chloe Jensen, who was so obsessed with him for so many years, could never change her heart just like that. The only variable was the child in Sir's belly. Chloe Jensen must be angry because of that. That spoiled attitude was just her, throwing a tantrum. As long as he got rid of the child, Chloe Jensen would calm down and come back. He forcibly dragged Sarah to the hospital for an abortion. Barbara Miller almost fainted with worry. Didn't you say you wanted to have a successor for your brother? Sarah held Barbara Miller's hand, crying hysterically, begging Jason Miller not to make her get an abortion. Jason Miller rubbed his throbbing temples and insisted, only by getting rid of this child will Chloe Jensen calm down. Mom, Chloe Jensen can have as many grandchildren as you want in the future. We can pass one on to Big Brother then. Barbara Miller let go of Sir's hand upon hearing this. A woman's strength is no match for a man's. Sarah was thus dragged away to the hospital by Jason Miller. Then, he started setting up his wedding to Chloe Jensen in an unknown hotel. The wedding date was one Chloe Jensen had gotten after consulting an astrologer. It was chosen based on their compatibility charts. He quietly prepared the wedding, planning to snatch Chloe Jensen away from Robert Davis's wedding. Chloe Jensen loved him so much, she would definitely leave with him. Agreeing to marry someone else was just an act of defiance. Could that Robert Davis compare to him? He only started his company because of his family. Without that background, he was nothing. But he was different. He was a bright talent from a humble background, the campus heartthrob at Riverton University. In college, many girls flocked after him, unable to be shaken off. Especially Chloe Jensen. She was the most prominent of his many admirers. They were about to achieve their happy ending. How could Chloe Jensen bear to let go? On the wedding day, he watched with his own eyes as a line of Rolls-Royces stopped outside the Jensen house, picking up Chloe Jensen for the wedding car. She was so beautiful. She was even more beautiful in a wedding dress. Jason Miller's eyes turned red with jealousy. The wedding had just begun. George Jensen was walking Chloe Jensen down the aisle, about to hand his daughter's hand to the groom. Stop. Jason Miller suddenly burst into the wedding venue. He reached out a trembling hand. Coco, I've come to marry you. Sarah has already had the abortion. You should be calm now, right? A layer of mist blurred his eyes, and his voice seemed to carry a hint of pleading. It was my fault, I made you angry. Will you come back? Today is our wedding day. I placed my hand into Robert Davis' warm palm and said calmly, Jason Miller, I don't love you anymore. Jason Miller charged forward like a madman. Impossible. How could you not love me? Robert Davis punched him in the face. You little punk, you have a death wish, daring to crash my wedding. You've been messing with the treasure I hold closest to my heart for so many years. I've wanted to beat you up for a long time. Asterisk bang, bang, asterisk 2 more punches. Jason Miller was dazed, unable to fight back. Blood streamed from his nose and mouth. Half his face was swollen. I just felt he deserved it. Finally someone had vented my anger for me. Robert Davis waved his hand, and 2 security guards stepped forward, dragging him away like a dead dog. The wedding continued smoothly. Back in the backstage dressing room, I looked at Robert Davis suspiciously. Did you deliberately let Jason Miller in? At such a high-class wedding, there were security guards everywhere. Jason Miller wouldn't have been able to get in on his own. Robert Davis nodded slightly. I was afraid you might change your mind. Saying that, he pulled out a pair of flat shoes from the cabinet under the vanity. I even had escape shoes ready for you. But your hand firmly took mine. Coco, thank you for choosing me. Robert Davis' voice trembled slightly. I knew he was shaken. I hugged him tightly. I'm your wife now. Robert Davis, who was so impressive in front of others, actually cried with emotion. Jason Miller was thrown by the security guards near a trash can like a dead dog. My dad also told his old friends that they didn't need to give Jason Miller any business on his account anymore. Those friends were relieved upon hearing this. That project we just finished last month, because Mr. Miller didn't include a force majeure excluding weather clause, our company lost $3 million, currency implied, assuming USD, after the rain stopped work. When our company developed products in partnership with a competitor, the contract drafted by Mr. Miller failed to include patent rights, resulting in the legal possession of our technology by the other party. Last time, that franchise agreement Mr. Miller didn't limit the regional protection. My dad sighed and apologized to his old friends one by one, promising that if they ever needed his help, he would go through fire and water for them. Only then did I realize how much my dad had secretly done for me. And Jason Miller had never mentioned any of it. He clearly knew his capabilities were limited, but he still opened a law firm on his own, gambling that since I was my dad's only daughter, my dad would surely help him behind the scenes. Sarah, enraged by the forced abortion, hated the whole Miller family. She put rat poison in their food. Because they were older, Mr. and Mrs. Miller didn't make it at the hospital. Jason Miller, who had eaten less and was younger, barely survived. Only after interrogation did the truth come out. Jason Miller's older brother, Andrew, was also killed by Sarah. In college, she pursued Jason Miller as fiercely as I did, but Jason Miller chose me. That's why she chose to marry Andrew, and move into the Miller house, to have more opportunities to be around Jason Miller. However, Andrew discovered her sordid intentions and was going to divorce her. So she tampered with Andrew's car. That day, Andrew was going to work as usual, but Jason's car wouldn't start unexpectedly, so he had to catch a ride with him. Sarah wanted to stop it but couldn't. On the road, the brakes failed, and Andrew crashed into a large truck ahead. A minute before the car caught fire, he pushed the unconscious Jason out the window, but he himself perished in the flames. Sarah hadn't conceived the child through IVF either. She had drugged Jason to get pregnant. Her love for Jason Miller had turned into an obsession. She also confessed that if Jason Miller and I had successfully married, the next person she would have eliminated was me. The police officer handling the case was one of Rob's close friends. Because it involved me, he told us the story. My heart pounded with fear. I had narrowly escaped death. Robert Davis also broke out in a cold sweat. He held me close in his strong embrace, and mumbled, "My wife is safest when she's right by my side." While Jason Miller was in the hospital, his partner emptied the company's funds, transferring everything to overseas accounts. The company was now an empty shell. On top of that, my dad stopped sending him business, and he begged everyone he knew, but no one would hire him. His parents were gone, and his company was gone too. I heard his mind snapped. He was crazy all the time. He'd mumble, "Coco, I've come to marry you." He'd see children in the neighborhood and lunge at them, demanding they call him Dad. Because he was scaring children like this, many parents beat him up badly, and strongly demanded that the neighborhood management kick him out. He was left wandering the streets like a stray dog. Once, Rob and I had just left a friend's party, when the crazy man with messy, curly hair lunged at me directly. Robert Davis kicked him away. He lay on the ground, crawling towards me. "Coco, I was wrong. Please forgive me just once. Even if you're married, it doesn't matter. Even if you're sleeping with Rob every single day, I don't care, as long as you come back." Well, he was that crazy but still recognized me. Robert Davis was worried about my safety. He had him tied up and sent to Africa. Robert Davis was good in every way, except he was too energetic, leaving me sore and aching every day. Until 6 months later, when I got pregnant. I showed him the pregnancy test results to brag. His face crumpled like a bitter melon, and he mumbled softly, "Little guy, why are you coming so soon? I haven't had enough time to kiss my wife." I raised my hand, and gave him a flick on the forehead. Who gets jealous of their own child? Robert Davis looked even more wronged. He lay his head on my growing belly and instructed the baby, "You better be good in mommy's tummy. If you're not obedient, I'll beat your butt raw when you come out."